All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Welcome to the NHK, episode 23.
Okay.
All right, penultimate episode. Misaki is having some internal doubts, but also is trying to wrestle with the whole concept of belief and how it might actually help or not help this situation. Because right now, she's looking for someone or something to blame.
Other than herself.
Yeah. And she wishes there could be like some god or what have you that she could put all this blame upon for the things that are just going wrong.
But
she doesn't believe in that. So
So
yeah.
Yep. So now she's clinging to the whole thing of seeing herself as above Sato, putting Sato down in her mind. That way she knows that she's not doing too bad. And she's writing a letter. Yes.
So we have yet to know exactly why or what that is. But we can guess. So, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this.
The longer this show goes on, the more I wonder if it's gonna actually have a happy ending.
Oh. When did you first start thinking that?
Well, I mean, it's like I figured that it wouldn't have probably not like a super happy ending. Like that was pretty early on, but it's more of just like my percentage of how happy I think the ending will be just keeps going down.
Yeah, that's been something I've been like definitely feeling in the last 4 episodes or so, is that it's not about things being actually happy or unhappy. It's just that the struggle isn't over.
Right.
The idea that Sato has actually progressed quite a bit, but part of life is that there's progression and regression all within the part of the path of the journey. So,
and that it's hard to see progression when you're just looking at it from your own perspective.
Well, right, but us being the audience, we get the meta aspect of being able to look outside that, and we can look at specific things and go, hey, well, Sato can do this now. Even if he regressed back to, state X. We know that he's already beaten X before in the past, so...
Yeah.
Okay.
どうしたんだ?
本当に何でもないから。
だったら早く始めようぜ。
今回のテーマは有名人の最後の言葉です。
Oh.
Okay.
もっと光を。有名な人だよ。
Sounds like a doctor or a scientist.
それはあれだ。あの人だよ。ほら、とっても有名な人で。
ブッブー。
ブッブー。
正解はゲーテでした。
Okay.
文豪さんですね。
ほら、海外の作家でさ、なんとかって作品を書いた。
ブッブー。
I love it.
正解は夏目漱石さんです。
食
いしん坊だったんですね。確認です。
じゃあ、太宰治。
ピンポン。正解です。文豪シリーズは終わり。次はスポーツマンシリーズ。まずは
So is this about basically once people die,
マラソンの円谷選手の遺書だろ?
ピンポンピンポン。円谷選手死ぬ間際にふるさとに帰ったんだって。そしてお父さんとお母さんと一緒にとろろいも食べたんだって。綺麗な岬があるんだけど、明治時代にある有名人が身投げして以来自殺の名所になっちゃったんだって。
Oh, jeez.
でも小さい頃はそんなこと知らないから、よくその岬で遊んだんだ。
This is just like where Sato was.
Oh wait,
and this was the thing that she flashed to. It wasn't.
Is this her mom?
Oh god. Oh good, so she doesn't see it. Oh my god.
今でも
Oh god, so the whole thing with Sato back then flashed her back to that moment. Well,
okay, so probably not her mom then if she wonders if it was a dream.
美味しいのかな。卒業試験です。遠いところに行くことになりそうなんです。誰も知らない遠くの町。
そっか。
Ay, ay, ay.
Okay.
Okay, well this is a depressing set of circumstances.
Yeah.
Just the sound effects, you know.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
all like you have no idea if they're watching like
A
Star
sci-fi
Wars
action
or
flick,
yeah, or like an anime or something, you know. Oh, from the OP.
Yep.
Not from the OP, the ED. Mm-hmm. Jeez.
Whoa.
Oh my gosh. Oh. Crap. Yeah. Wow.
そうしないと私もうダメにな
大丈夫。君は大丈夫だ。上を向いて歩くんだ。
ねえ寂しくないの？
寂しくないさ。
寂しいよ。
俺は寂しくない。
Okay. Well.
Well, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
寂しいさ。
どうして契約書にサインしなかったプリン？
俺には美咲ちゃんを救う資格なんてないから。
本当にそれだけ？
佐藤さん、人間は自分がダメ人間だとは認めたがらないものです。
いっそ思い切って自分がただのダメ人間だって認めてしまえば楽になるんじゃない？
Oh my gosh.
自分はただのニートで年下の女の子にまで憐れみを受けているダメ人間だって。
そうですよ。認めちゃいましょうよ。
So.
Oh, it's a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
1月後日、実家からの仕送りが完全に途絶えた。
Jeez.
カロリーが欲しい。何でもいい。何か食いたい。
This is the second to last episode, though. There's an episode after this.
カツ丼。
He's in the same place as
Yeah, the brother.
the brother, yeah.
現の生活を許されてるから、
Yeah.
いつまでも引きこもってられるんだ。出られるってのは、それ自体とても贅沢なことだった。
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, and just him getting to
し
eat.
ょうがない状態で死ぬ覚悟もなかったら働くしかないんだ。
It's shaved.
Yeah. Little by little,
Mm-hmm.
おめでとう佐藤くん。
you did it.
ついに引きこもり脱出だね。
Wow. Oh, the tuna, the DHA, the brain activity, and all that. Oh, don't you
No.
dare! Don't you dare!
No.
No way. No, no, no. This is not
No.
okay.
Oh, God.
Mm. Please just tell me it's just that. Just that.
佐藤君だね。
This guy knows him.
美咲ちゃんのおじさんって見たハウスの
Oh!
Gotcha.
Oh!
Okay.
ですよね。
That makes sense. Okay.
俺の出身地とか通ってた大学とか知ってた。
Yeah, okay, okay.
美咲ちゃんは
その時怪我をして生まれてすぐ実の父親が亡くなり、しばらくして妹を再婚した。
Oh, you can already see it. Yep, yep, yep. Crap.
ろくに働きもせず、
And I guess it
お
wasn't.
ー
家族に手を挙げるの。
Oh,
そして、
yep, yep. Oh, god damn it, that's real. Yep,
Wow.
yep.
That.
結局はからずじまいでした。
Because no one ever saw her fall, but there was the wind, you know.
血のつながらない父親と二人きりになって、私たち夫婦に負い目を感じているんでしょうね。
Oh.
おしゃれをしたり遊んだりしたい年頃だろうに、贅沢一つせず家内のお供をしたり、佐藤君の話をしている時のあの子は本当に楽しそうでした。
Ah!
あの子と仲良くしてやってください。
Oh, this is good.
Mm-hmm.
This is
家族もいないのか。
Oh no, the location. No, no.
Uh-uh.
He's been eating something, so he has the energy to make this
Yep.
make this happen. Yep.
Uh-huh.
Mhm. Get on the
Oh,
train
wow.
and that's
Wow.
all his money.
Yeah.
Oh. Go. Damn it. Ah.
All right.
Well, that was a donkey kick to the feels.
Yeah.
Oh.
So.
Mm.
And. So.
How do you want to handle this? Because we can,
Well.
like, we can talk about the episode. We can talk about the heavy stuff, later. We can talk about like it right now. Like,
I think as weird as it sounds, I am actually, because this is a story, and only because this is a story, right?
right.
I'm very glad that all of this is happening.
Yeah.
Because it's something where, in the same way that Sato was able to make all the progress that he was making, he still needed to reach that point where he absolutely hit rock bottom.
He had to hit
right?
rock bottom.
He had to hit rock bottom.
Yep.
And the thing is that once he hit rock bottom, there wasn't a question about it because
Yep.
he couldn't afford to question it, right? He just had to do it or he was going to die,
Yeah,
right?
that was his choice.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
either die or you
Yep,
do what it takes to not die.
exactly.
Yeah.
And because of that, he was able to get better, right? In the case here, if Misaki hadn't because the letter, the yams were delicious,
Yeah.
that's not just a cry for help, that is a specific targeted cry for help.
Yeah.
That is a cry for help to Sato.
To Sato
Right?
specifically.
Not to anyone else, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's
Now, anyone with half a brain will know that she's going
Yes.
to die at that point.
Yep.
But they wouldn't necessarily know that she was going back specifically to that spot. So,
right.
yes, in
Yeah.
some ways, this was her Hail Mary subconscious
Yep.
effort to, if there is a
Right.
God,
Mhm.
if there is
Save me.
such a
Yeah.
thing that can save me,
Yeah.
have it be Sato and have it be this way.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And oh my god, like this was a painful episode because there's so much that was confirmed and or connected
Mhm.
with regards to Misaki's character. We knew that there was some level of abuse at some point in the past.
Yep.
We didn't know exactly where it came
Mhm.
from.
We figured it
didn't-
was a
male figure in her
figure.
life.
Yeah,
yes.
sort of.
But we
right.
didn't know
Mhm.
if it was the people she was living with, which I
Yep.
didn't think necessarily it would be, but like we didn't know if it was her actual father. In this case, we found out
Right.
exactly where that came from.
Mhm.
The fact that why her parents are both no longer with her is because, one, both of her biological parents are dead by different reasons,
But
also
her mom killed herself right in front of her.
Mm-hmm.
So
that traumatized her all the way up until this point.
Yeah, like suicide is traumatizing enough for everyone that is connected to the person, right?
Yep.
But for it to be so I know someone that had that happen to them.
Where it was someone that close to them killed themselves right in front of them?
Their parent.
Oh, God.
That fucked them up.
Yeah.
You don't just... You don't just recover from that.
No.
Like, that... Yeah.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
The fact that Misaki lasted this long, I would say, is actually a testament, one, to her own internal fortitude, but also to the efforts of her aunt and uncle.
Also, I gotta say, the other specific thing that they brought up with the whole aspect of a hikikomori being a luxury,
yeah,
she had in some ways the luxury of having all of her actual, like, basic needs provided for her.
Yep.
So the worst thing that she was going through were things that were in the past. So she could probably distract herself enough with all these good things in her immediate environment.
Yeah, with people like Sato.
And then Sato ends up being this source of great emotional, like, needs being fulfilled and what have you. She ends up, of course, not knowing exactly how to do things properly here. So she kind of manipulated the situation to where it was as easy as possible for her. But because she got invested in the relationship, and he did too, when things started to fall apart, it hurt that much more. And there were so many other little things that were cluing us into the idea that this was a replacement of sorts for the family that she didn't really have anymore.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, she, reveals in some ways the final stage of her insecurity, which is she doesn't know actually how to just tell Sato, like, I need you. I need your help.
Yep.
She puts it into the form of a contract, which ends up hitting his ego a bit too hard, which ends up belittling him.
Well, and she wasn't able to fully be vulnerable because she had to phrase it in such a way so that it wasn't about, and weirdly enough, I kind of the thing that I feel like clued me in the most to Misaki being suicidal, strangely enough, is that bit in the OP where it shows the girl and she's like blonde or whatever, and she's got like the frilly dress and she's standing and the wind's blowing and everything. Because at first I thought that was I figured it was some kind of fantasy thing or whatever, like it, and when they mentioned the hentai games, I figured it was going to be that, right? That was the character model of the main heroine, right?
And it didn't end up being
but once it was established that wasn't the character model of the main, female lead, right? I was like, oh, that's Misaki. She's really not doing well.
Why did you think it was Misaki?
I guess the general like build and like haircut and things like that was fairly similar, but the idea of it being something where it felt so untethered to reality, where it's like, because what is the exact image that it is? Because she's looking off to the left and generally.
Oh, you mean the
yeah. Right. She's on the edge of a cliff.
Well, yeah, this is totally Misaki.
Yeah.
But why did this make you think she was suicidal?
So it was generally a subconscious thing, but like I couldn't exactly pin down what exactly it was, but looking at it now, she's on a cliffside, right? She's looking to the left. Generally, if you have in an opening, progress is considered to the right. Like you'll have like if you have
American thing.
It might be, but if you have like running montages, usually the characters are running to the right when they're the protagonist or something. And if you have the protagonist versus the protagonist will be on the left facing to the right, and then the antagonist will be on the right facing to the left. then there was the fact that
I think that's an American thing.
It might be.
That's a Western thing.
Well, okay,
because we read left to right.
Well, this was actually something from OP analysis videos for anime.
Okay.
But there's also the fact that the clothes were too frilly. Like it was something where it's like that it's and given the fact that it was Misaki but it looked different from Misaki, there was, I guess, this kind of like dissociation, right? Because that was either how Sato saw Misaki or that was how Misaki saw Misaki. Right.
Sure, I get that. Yeah.
And originally I thought it was how Sato saw her because, you know, he like she's an angel for him, right? She comes down and saves him, which still has the whole idea of he needs to then learn that she's not. So there needs to be that reversal, and if it's a strong reversal, the better from like a narrative impact sense. But then if it is her seeing herself that way, then definitely yeah.
Yeah, I think in some ways they kind of pushed it into a specific thing also with the fact that there was so little about her that she was willing to be vulnerable with.
Sure. Yes.
And we saw lots of hints regarding her that she was in a situation where her mental health was one that was not
she needed this
good
just as much, if not more, than Sato.
Yeah, in some ways. Yeah. Maybe even more.
Mm-hmm.
But God, I've been sneezing all day. This a cold or something. What's going on here? Okay, so
wait.
What the heck? Switched episodes entirely there.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but
I want to talk about the whole aspect of this beginning half of the episode here because I feel like it'd be too easy to just go for what's kind of predictions regarding the last episode and ignore this beginning part here. So she talks about the last words of famous people. And it's the setup for, her giving her last words. So at this point, we kind of are being told at this point, yes, she is suicidal.
Right, and this is the cry for help to Sato specifically of this is where I'm at, Are you going to notice kind of a thing?
Yeah. She definitely gives off the impression at multiple points that, she wants him to interject at points. Whereas she's like, aren't you going to ask where I'm going?
Yeah.
Things like that. And then she gives the vague answer of, I'll end up with a place really far away.
Yeah,
that no one knows about, the way that she actually told Sato this event and brushed it off as if it's a dream.
Yeah.
And Sato's, like, at the very least, not fully aware at this point because he's not doing well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he also wouldn't know what to say. Think about it this way. He doesn't really have the tools to help her.
Nope.
All he can do is be there. And that is literally what she asks him to do with regard to the contract. But when she has the moment of, I wonder if it was a dream from the beginning, and then she says, I wonder if New Year's graded yams are good, which is then the line she uses at the end. And he says, I couldn't say. Basically, she's basically saying, I wonder if I should give that as my last line. Or would this be a good last line? Or I wonder if, I should go home to see if they were good.
And also the, making a second mention of it, so it's not just an offhand mention, so that Sato will definitely, it's another option for him to be able to see how she's doing.
Right. So then she ends up having a good, kind of date with him. They end up going on a whole bunch of little adventures, places, or what have you. And she admits to Sato, the things that Sato already figured out about, how she chose him or why she chose him.
Right.
But this contract just tears me up inside. I totally understand where she's coming from here.
Yep.
This is something where she's seeing it as he will have to say yes here.
Right.
There is literally no world where he would say no here. And the horrifying thing about this contract, I would say specifically, is that she thought she needed to do this in order for him to say yes, though.
Right.
Like,
yep.
Like this is all when she starts making the points of, well, you're lonely, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Like that's something that she's aware of. She's not trying to convince him via the contract,
right.
But she still thinks she needs the contract,
right,
in order to have them be together as friends or as something more.
I feel like it's something where she's wanting him to admit that basically that he is pathetic, so that then he is also basically saying, you're better and I'm depending on you, right? Because she values him enough that if he were to say, you are absolutely, you absolutely have value, I couldn't survive without you and all that stuff, then maybe she could, put aside those darker thoughts on his behalf, kind of a thing.
Right. This line here just kills me. I've tried my very hardest in order to save you, Sato. By now you're crazy about me, right? Okay, let me just unpack something here, because this line, the idea that she understands that by her giving value to him and being the only person in his life, she's like, well, I mean, everything lines up. He should be crazy about me, right? This is one of the most depressing things that I've seen in my personal life, is when someone gets dependent on being the one that people depend on.
Yeah.
So you've definitely all been in places, like I'm speaking to everyone
right,
here.
Right.
You've all been in places where you've needed someone else, right?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
We've all been there.
But very few people, I think, have been in this exact situation, broadly speaking, where you need so desperately for like specific people to need you, otherwise you'll go crazy.
Yeah.
This is something I have seen personally, and it is one of the most like depressing unraveling of a person when they realize that a person has grown up and doesn't need them. A small light example of this happens a lot in the family. When someone grows up, they are no longer a child.
Right.
The parents have to basically let them go.
Yep.
And be independent. This is
and that can be heartbreaking. Yeah.
But there are instances where you'll get so connected to the idea of being the only source of life or what have you for a person, that when they finally get better, when they finally are able to be free and stretch their wings and go and do whatever they want to do, it just tears people up inside, and it hurts.
It's A Place Further Than the Universe, episode 5.
Yep.
It's the dark extreme of Iroh's line of the sometimes, the best way to solve your own problems is to help someone else solve theirs.
Yeah.
That also in and of itself can become this crutch lifeline that you hold to because it's effective. It works. It's a great way to get your perspective off yourself, right? Is you get your perspective on someone else and trying to help them, right?
Right.
But yeah.
It just kills me because I remember multiple times when I would be in a situation where because I was a pretty needy kid, I think, back in like high school or stuff like that.
Okay.
So I had a lot of friends that were very much people that would help me with specific things. And once I had basically, kind of grown out of needing to depend on them, I would ask to see if there was anything I could do for them. Like, is there any way I could, like, pay you back? Is there any way I could basically, like, give something back to the way you would? And they completely, like shut off the relationship because there was this idea of, like, no, you're the vulnerable one.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Like, I can't.
Yep.
And it completely, like, it broke them internally to have to be like, we can't approach each other as equals in this relationship dynamic.
Oh, man.
And
that sucks.
It's horrible. It's painful because, like, I feel like that was something that I had to then not fall into the trap of later in years, because then I would try to help people with specific things as well. but not create an aspect of dependency within that dynamic there.
Yep.
And I remember multiple times when I had like come past that, probably around age like 23 or 24, there'd be people who would be like, I would give them some help with a specific thing, and then I would basically set boundaries. And it'd be this thing of like, oh, but you're not allowed to set boundaries with that. I'm dependent upon you. I'm like, no, that's not how.
Yeah, well, and
it's not how this works.
And it's really tough because when there's people close to you that are hurting, right?
Yeah.
You want to help them. You want to do everything you can to help them. You know.
Yep.
But there is an aspect of your help actually hurting, right? Because it helps in the immediate, but maybe they need to be at rock bottom for a bit so that they can realize that sucks and then buckle up and you know. But the thing is that you never know whether they're there, and the thing is that no one ever wants to be there because you don't always get better, right? You don't always buckle up and you know, pick yourself back up, right? Sometimes you crash on the rocks,
right? But it's all our individual jobs with our bit of freedom that we have to take responsibility for our own needs. And in some ways, like, that's kind of the lesson Sato learned here.
Yeah.
Like, Sato ended up hitting rock bottom because no one else was taking care of his needs for him.
Yep.
And this is something that might be really tough to hear, but no one else is responsible for meeting your needs. Really, like, this is something that, like, for me, I like constantly had to wrestle with on both ends of the spectrum. Is I'm not responsible for meeting anyone else's needs, and no one else is responsible for meeting my needs. We're all free people.
Well, and there's also this, like, in the same way that they're like that dependency that you talked about. You know, it can absolutely be insidious in how it can cripple someone because you know, our thoughts tend to dictate our reality, right? If we think of ourselves as being, say, worthless, that's why people don't like to you know, admit it, because that can be a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? You know, there's admitting when you need help, and then there's saying, you know, like, I am worthless, right? That's right. That's those are two very different things. There's I'm in a tough situation, I need help, I am, you know, in a bad way, right? And then there's
one is a request, the other is a statement about your identity or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. One is talking
entirely different forms.
One is talking about your circumstances and how you're measuring up to your circumstances, versus the other one is making an empirical statement about who you are. And it's the level at which people can feel crippled when they have to be dependent on somebody, right? When they feel like they couldn't make it on their own, it's oh man, it's the like imagine if you had someone that was in bed all day and they were, you know, being brought all their meals and all that stuff, and everything was being taken care of for them. They would waste away, right? The muscles would atrophy, like, just on a physical level, right? Not even talking an emotional, you know, spiritual, like, psychological level, right? They would start to waste away. Now, there are times where you need to be in that situation. You break your leg.
A kid.
Right, or like, a kid.
Let's say you're a parent and you have a kid that's like 2 years old. Yes,
got a fever,
absolutely.
you know,
they're in an independent relationship.
Exactly.
But when you're dealing with an adult, you know, someone that is not your I would say not you're not the progenitor of, or something like that.
Well, because that has this concept of, like, responsibility, but but also
bringing the responsibility,
but also just the idea of with where they are at in their life, right? Because you know, when you're a kid, you're not going to stay a kid forever, right? So there's gonna come a point where you'll hit puberty and the hormones will start raging, and suddenly you won't be able to stand, you know, being under mom and dad's roof anymore. You'll be like, I gotta get out there, I gotta, you know, But if you've already had that happen, right? You know, you lose a baby tooth, it's no big deal, right? You know, you'll get a better tooth that'll come in. You lose one of those better teeth, it's not coming back.
No,
that's not coming back. So.
All right, so the animation that they did on the characters when they were having their moments of, if you don't sign it, I'll feel like I'll fall into pieces, you'll be fine. Just, they went all out in this episode to make the character animation for the two of them just really gut-wrenchingly painful. And then he collapses back in this room and then realizes that, like, the reason why, you know, people do all this kinds of stuff is that, you know, there's this value in seeing other people as worthless so that you don't have to admit that you're a worthless human being.
Yep.
And then all the voice in his head telling him, just admit it, you're worthless, admit it. This was a very cool part story-wise for, in my opinion, because the stuff that they're actually bringing up has that tint of truth to it. It's just always within these kinds of situations, something that's true ends up hitting you, but because you're in a bad mental state and emotional state, the interpretation and the action that you take from that always ends up going to the wrong place, basically.
Right.
And I just thought it was handled brilliantly. And then the horrifying aspect of everything,
the realization,
everything being taken away.
Yep.
And all of his dependent, you know, structure that he's got around him just falling apart. This literally felt like the studio basically getting the go-ahead from, you know, the government or what have you. This is the conspiracy part of the show, in my opinion, is that they're like, we need to, they're talking to the editors or the marketing people, like, we need to showcase a hikikomori actually hitting rock bottom. It's going to be really dark and depressing, but we need to show them that they kind of in some ways need to hit this rock bottom bit if they're going to realize how desperate their situation is. And it was just painful to watch, just him twisting up, like begging for food, just
well, when we reach our lowest point, we're open to the greatest change. That can be positive or negative, right? It's certainly negative for Misaki right now.
Yes.
You know, but for Sato, it was positive because it was able to be positive because of the people that he had in his life, right? He knew that he could do it, right?
Right.
And then when he was forced to, he answered the call.
Yeah. I love this bit where she's like, you finally did it, which means that she wasn't going to do anything until she was certain that he was going to be okay. So she looks at this and goes, oh, he really doesn't need me anymore. Okay.
Right. Because and there, like, maybe there was a part of her that was holding out that he would change his mind at some point, right? But it took him a long time to get out of hikikomori, right? First he had to have everything fall apart. He had to have his allowance cut off. He had to have Yamazaki's thing get cut off and everything, and then get the job and, you know, and start working and shave and all that stuff, right? And then she realizes, okay, he's doing okay. So that entire point, she held out for at least that long, right? Oh man,
there are a lot of little things that happen in the last like 3 minutes of this show. We get the reveal about her family, the abuse that happened when her father died when she was born, and her mom remarried a different guy who ends up being an asshole, and he would raise his hand to the two of them. At the very least, he raised his hand to the mom.
And we know he did to her.
And we know he did to her afterwards, And then the dream was not a dream. She was at that cliff, and she did intend to commit suicide. Did she do it in that specific instance, or was it the wind? It doesn't really matter, because the trauma is still real.
Well, and let's be real. She jumped.
I mean...
But Misaki doesn't fully know, because she didn't actually see it happen.
Exactly.
And you know, so even thinking maybe it was a dream, even though no, you saw that and your mom isn't around anymore, right? Like, that's why I thought it might have been a stranger, because, you know, there was no consequence on her kind of a thing. She just saw it and then she doesn't fully know what she saw. But no, that happened. That happened.
This part too, just the bit where they show the silhouette of her her stepdad, and he looks like Sato.
Oh yeah, and Sato pieces it together.
Right, Sato pieces it together. Like, oh shoot, when I did that, when I threatened to basically hit her there, because she flashed back to that.
Because I feel like Sato didn't quite realize that it was her mother. Because I feel like when Misaki, because like we got it in a flashback, but given that Sato didn't comment on it, I get the feeling it didn't seem that heavy of, yeah, I saw my mom, like, I was there when my mom jumped, right?
Oh, that's another thing. The way she called it in the bit there is that there's a beautiful promontory that's unfortunately become a well-known suicide spot. And he's like, wow. And it's like,
yeah, but when you're little, you don't know things like that. So I was playing there, and yeah.
Why does my mouse keep freaking out? Apparently, ever since a certain famous person threw himself off it. Okay. I thought this was a thing where she had even internalized her mom's doing that as a part of the history as to why it's become a famous suicide spot. Is that it wasn't a famous person; it was just someone really important to her.
But yeah,
but that would be a whole other thing. But okay. They brought up another thing here, which I think is a very common thing. When someone believes they're worthless, they don't indulge on themselves. This is something I thought was a very nice... Okay. There are a bunch of little things in this that I thought was really cool. The reason why... It's like, yeah, she doesn't wear nice clothes, or... she might want to goof off and wear nice clothes and such. She doesn't indulge herself at all. This is a very common thing for someone who believes their value as a person is in the dog pits here. But she does things like accompanying my wife and working at the manga cafe I own. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So we're tying all those little things together there. But she talked about you, Sato. You helped make her more cheerful.
Looks like she was having fun. Yeah.
And be a friend to her. And then we get the, New Year's grated yams were delicious. So to everybody, goodbye. And yeah. All right, Sato. Yeah. You run. You empty your savings account. Like, you go, buddy.
And the thing is,
the hero here. This is awesome.
And the thing is that because there's one episode left, right? Yep. Unless the show just decides to be an absolute dick, right?
It could.
Misaki's gonna be okay.
I hope so.
Question is, how exactly is it gonna happen? And it's going to definitely hurt, right? And I can only really feel this positive about it because I know it's a show, right? That bit of meta, like, all right, because in real life, no, this
doesn't work.
This doesn't work. So yeah, just PSA: if you are having thoughts like Misaki, if you ever think about wanting to end your life, please tell people, seek really tell family. There get
hotlines.
Help. Yeah, there are hotlines. Seek professional help.
We'll put them in the description of the video below, like literally, so you can check that out.
But don't leave a cryptic message, knowing that one person will figure it out, because Sato very easily could have just not looked at that book, not been at the hospital, in time, missed a train, whatever, right? Like
not had
enough money, right? Like there could have been so many situations where it just didn't work out, or maybe he gets there 5 minutes too late. Like because so yeah.
Well, this is going to be a great finale. I hope that hope that y'all are ready for it, because I am barely ready for it. So if you want to see that next episode's reaction and discussion right now, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us and the community there about this show, about anime in general, and you can also talk with Jacob about the sci-fi novel that he wrote.
Yeah, so if you like books, I wrote a sci-fi novel. It's called Battle Lines. It's really cool. It's on Amazon. Link in the description below. It's in both hardback and ebook, so go check it out.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.